I think there are probably three areas in particular that alternative investment managers are challenged with cybersecurity in this year. Certainly, regulatory changes are making things complicated, and it's a bit of the uncertainty, particularly around the SEC's cyber proposed rule, for example. Firms are not quite sure how that's going to affect them, and that's been delayed now several times. So that's proving a bit of a challenge. But even without that, you still have the problems of truly understanding what the existing rules mean in their situation. And that can be very complicated for them to understand. The second one I think that has been highlighted in particular this year is the importance of vendor risk. And with the increase in outsourcing, what we're seeing here is firms rely on those outsources for more critical functions within the business. And that's proving to be a real challenge for them to understand how to apply their expected cybersecurity posture and standards into those vendors. And the last one, which is one that just keeps going on year after year, is staff training. How do they improve the awareness around cybersecurity for their staff? And in particular, one of the expressions we like to use is being that human firewall. Despite all the technology and all the controls that we can put in place, at the end of the day, the human element is so vital in protecting a business. And so how do we address that with good continual awareness in the quality of the cyber training that we deliver? Yeah, so it's changed considerably in the time, which is now approaching over 20 years for me, the time that I've spent working in cybersecurity and technology. The investor's attitude to cybersecurity has changed dramatically. In the early days, we might meet with an investor for 5 or 10 minutes, answer a few checkbox questions. I've had one situation where they spent about 2 minutes checking that the air conditioner was running and there was a lock on the communications room. Today, things are considerably different. Due diligence teams may even have cybersecurity rights of veto or conditional rights to put on a deal. And so that's a big significant change. And that's really come about because cyber is now one of the top risks that a fund faces. And the investors realize that. And we're moving into an even more extreme of that, where we're seeing investors and allocators even take a proactive, ongoing approach to cybersecurity. So firms are expected to continually mature their cyber program. And if not, the investor will be the one that comes and checks and challenges that. I think the first one here, and it's difficult because very often people, when they hear this sort of thing, what is a essential tools and technology, are focused very much on a technical solution. But the reality is the first thing you need to do in any cybersecurity situation for any business is identify the risks. And so whether you are using a technical tool or trying to do it by hand, building out your risk assessment and identifying the risks so that you have a foundational look at the business and an understanding of where you need to protect your data is so critical. And then only then can you start layering on the technology. In the past, you almost had this sort of reverse engineering happening where maybe a technologist in the team would say, right, we're going to put in firewalls and antivirus and spam protection, without actually taking a look at the business and saying, well, you know what, we're outsourcing all of this highly confidential data for processing to this firm. Perhaps we need to look at this too. And that's why the cyber risk assessment is so important at the beginning. There are foundational technologies, though, that everybody should have. And we look at this from a defense in depth approach. Things like multi-factor authentication, protection of email as it comes into the business. So do you have spam filters? Do you have the firewalls for those connections? Are the endpoint, the users got good malware solutions? And are those being updated correctly? There's a variety of different things that does need to happen from that technology stack. And so perhaps a good simple way to look at it is this layered approach. And as your business grows, so does the different systems that you'll have across your environment, and particularly more complex when you're dealing with cloud technologies. The alerts from a cybersecurity standpoint could be very minor on one system versus another, but when you put them together, you realize perhaps there's a coordinated attack happening across your entire environment. So we're looking at new technologies here. Previously, we talked about SIEM, that was sort of security, information, and event management. But now there's sort of a next gen that's happening across there with things like CNAP, which is cloud native application protection platforms. And the idea here is that they are truly natively aware of how cloud technologies work, so that an alert on one system combined with another has a bit more meaning to it. If you're not a large firm with a high, sort of large IT team within the business, then you also need to ask that question to your MSP as well. So, what is your service provider doing with all these different cloud technologies, and how are they monitoring it? So, a variety of different approaches here with essential cybersecurity tools.